Hello and welcome to It's My Why by Arpita. My name is Arpita and namaste to my lovely audience. So, I looked at the comments that you guys were posting and you guys really wanted some information about Australian Physiotherapy Entry Pathway. So this video is going to be about this topic, so stay tuned. Alright, so I have opened this website here, and earlier it was Standard Assessment Pathway, and I've made several videos about it which you can go and check out, because there are certain steps which is like the initial eligibility assessment, first step, and cultural safety training, and written assessment is the same. If there are any minor changes to that, I'll make a separate video about each topic, but at the moment I think it's pretty similar. So eligibility assessment remains the same, which is the first step, which is more of like documentation and assessment. Cultural safety training, I've made separate videos about these topics, so you can, I will post a link in the description and you can check that out. Written assessment, also I've made a video about that, so you can check that out as well. In this video, I'm going to be talking about capability assessment, and the clinical workshop I will make a separate video about that later, but this video is mainly about capability assessment because that is like a game changer. So earlier a lot of you were like, okay, should we come to Australia, you know, for clinical exam you'll have to prepare yourself, get a visa and come to Australia and give exam in person here. But now the good news is for everyone who is pursuing you know, you want to be a registered physiotherapy in Australia, this is like great news for everybody, that through this capability assessment, you can give which was earlier like clinical exams, you can give this capability assessment from your own country. Wherever you are, you can give this exam from your own location, so you don't need to come to Australia for this step. Alright, so I'm just gonna open this assessment. For Australian Physiotherapy Entry Pathway, it is the Council's entry pathway supporting international physiotherapists to join the Australian physiotherapy workforce. So it's a new pathway. So what does APEP offer? It provides a path and resources to obtain your final certificate. Once you finish all these steps, you will be getting a final certificate through APEP. So like Australian Physiotherapy Council is the website, but through this pathway you will be getting the final certificate after you finish all the steps. It includes an open book remote capability assessment, which was not there earlier. So this remote capability assessment, earlier it was clinical exam for which you have to come to Australia, but now that is replaced by this capability assessment, which is the second part, and it is during part 2 reading and preparation. So I'll talk more about it later. It connects you with other international physiotherapists during the face-to-face clinical workshop. So at the end, once you finish written, your capability assessment, and at the end there is a workshop, which is an in-person workshop which will connect you through like with other international physiotherapists. It offers a personalized feedback, prepares you as a first contact physiotherapist in Australia, validates your competency and clinical capability to Australian employers, and trains you to work in the Australian physiotherapy profession. Like this pathway is what I was talking about. So we'll move on to the fees. To give you an idea about the updated fee structure, so I'll tell you all the fees. For eligibility assessment, as of like 31st July 2025, these changes, this updated fee structure. So eligibility assessment and cultural safety training will be 1,136 for eligibility assessment, and cultural safety training, which is more like an online component that you have to finish, it's 228 Australian dollars. Written assessment is 1,958 Australian dollars. Capability assessment is 2,842 Australian dollars. Clinical workshop 1,421 AUD, and the total will be 7,585 Australian dollars for the whole process. Okay. So there are few questions. We'll directly move on to the capability assessment because that's like a game changer. So, you know, if you can finish your capability assessment, written and capability both from your location, you know, online, then you just come for clinical workshop and you're like 100% sure that you'll be getting your final certificate. So that makes the whole thing extremely easy, because once you know that, okay, you'll be coming, you will be clearing this exam, you're getting final certificate, you're coming for the workshop, and you're 100% sure that you want to pursue your, you know, you'll be looking for jobs later on the basis of your registration, and you want to get that registration, you'll be 100% sure. So let's move on to capability assessment. What is capability assessment? It is an online test of your clinical skills as part of the Australian Physiotherapy Entry Pathway. This online verbal exam, okay, it's an oral exam, is specifically designed to evaluate your knowledge, clinical reasoning, safety, professionalism, and communication skills. So there is a format and there is a structure, and there will be an assessor, and I'll tell you more about it in a minute. So these are the core competencies essential for practice in Australian clinical environment. Now, how does it work? What is the format? Now you'll be thinking, what is the format of the exam? So it is an oral exam which is delivered online, okay, not in person. It is delivered online. It is an oral exam, and it focuses on your clinical reasoning and practical approach. So what is the structure? They have modified the structure. Earlier it was different. There used to be like a in-person exam, it was much more hectic, which I have given, but now it's much more easier because they have clarified and redefined and restructured the whole thing. So the structure, there will be 3 short clinical cases, okay, so it will be more like 3 short clinical cases and 1 long case. So there'll be 1 like detailed case and 3 short cases. They are presented, each requiring you to demonstrate your understanding of physiotherapy concepts, patient safety, and ethical conduct. So there'll be like, when the assessors are there, so there'll be an assessor. You will be assessed by 1 experienced Australian physiotherapist assessor. So the assessor will have like a sheet in his hand, where he'll be like working, on their different components, like step-by-step structure, whether you're taking there'll be reading time, and whether then communication, your clinical reasoning, your risk identification and management, what's just an understanding of your professional scope, management strategies, more about like clinical communication, the terms that you're using, how well you're communicating. Clinical reasoning, you should know the why and the reasoning of everything. If they ask you, okay, this is the management strategy, or this is the treatment you're giving, what is the reasoning behind it? What's the clinical reasoning? So you should be able to answer that well in simple words, and your communication should be clear. Interpreting assessment findings, treatment monitoring, and reassessment professionalism. So basically there will be a sheet in his hand, and he'll be marking you on the basis of that. But this is pretty much for now. What you need to understand is it's a clinical exam, it's an online exam. The structure, it's an oral exam, okay, and there'll be 3 short cases, that's the format, and 1 long case. And there'll be an assessor who will be an Australian physiotherapist assessor, and the duration, the entire assessment takes approximately 2 hours. Okay, so out of which 1.5 hours of exam will be the exam time, and there'll be viva, and the whole exam will be like 2 hours online. So that is something new for you to know, that earlier, like a lot of questions I was getting, how do I apply for visa, the process will be expensive. Yes, there is fees, but it's much more suitable for you to sit where you are, to have your laptop ready, and there'll be more information provided once you register for the exam, like what what are the things that you need, and the things that you should be ready with. And there's one more thing I want to tell you when you say it's an oral exam, okay? So what will be allowed? So the question that a lot of people will be thinking is this an open book exam? So to answer your question, let me just, so for this exam, Google search and books are allowed during the reading time for the long case portion of the exam. So there's a long case I told you in 3 short cases. So there'll be reading time for the long case portion of the exam, where you can do Google search and books are allowed. It's like an open book thing during the reading time of that long case. Okay, but the assessment, however, the assessment is time limited, and you should rely primarily on your existing knowledge and clinical reasoning. So it's not like that you keep books in front of you and you're looking for answer, because that doesn't show you should look confident in front of the assessor. So if you're looking for the answers, he will think that you don't know things. So basically you should rely, it's allowed for the reading time portion. Yes, you can look for the case, or if you want to read like quickly, like the more information about what case you got, you can do that for the long case portion. But it is time limited exam, so you should primarily rely on your existing knowledge and clinical reasoning, and no reading time is provided for the short cases. So there's no reading time for the short cases. There'll be like short cases given. There'll be more information coming on this soon, like exactly the how they divide the time for the short case. But to get an idea, if it is like 2-hour exam, you can think it'll be like 15-20 minutes for the short cases, something like that. But if there's more information on that, I'll let you know in a separate video. But for now, it's a great news. And one major thing that people wanted to know, the students wanted to know who wanted to come to Australia, and they were like, okay, how do we come, and how do we give clinical exam? Now you can. Is the capability assessment offered in person? No. So if you want to know whether you can come for this in person, which was earlier it was the case that you needed to come to Australia. No, for this pathway, Australian Physiotherapy Entry Pathway, now since they have updated it, so no, the capability assessment is only offered online. So it's not in-person exam, it's only offered online. This ensures accessibility for candidates worldwide. So it's an entry level for the physiotherapists from all over the world, right? So that ensures, the reason they have made it online is so that it's accessible. It ensures accessibility for candidates worldwide and allows you to complete the assessment from a location of your choice. So wherever you are, doesn't matter where your location is, now you can give this exam from your location. Okay, so that is all about capability assessment. And then there's a clinical workshop. So I told you the fees of the workshop. For that, once you finish the whole thing, you will have to come to Australia for that workshop. I'll make a separate video about that as well with more information. On that workshop, but that is like face-to-face workshop. It's not an exam. It's more like coming to Australia and interacting, where all the physios will be there. You'll get a chance to interact with them, and it's more like they'll be training you more about how to practice as a physiotherapist in Australia, and as per the Australian standards, what are the things needed. So it's more like a guidance workshop kind of thing, which is at the end, and that is in person. So but once you finish all the exams, you know that you can come for this workshop, and then you'll be, of course, like waiting for your final certificate, waiting to be registered with APRA, and so that you can apply for jobs in Australia. So yeah, so now the process has become streamlined, easy, convenient for everybody who is pursuing to come to Australia. Now you can 100% you can. So yeah, I hope that I have answered your question. I've tried to explain you the things that you wanted to know about, and I hope that I've cleared some of your doubts. If you have other questions, comment down below, and please, I'll be making Q&A video as well. So if you have any other questions, please comment down, and I will try to answer those questions in my upcoming video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, comment, share and subscribe. I will see you in my next video. Till then, goodbye.